The next thing that we talked about at this week's school board meeting, Director Emmerich tried to talk specifically about the Office of Black Student Achievement. The Office of Black Student Achievement does have to reduce cuts. There is a caveat here, though, that I think it's important for people to understand, that there were classes that went out to the different schools where kids were actually getting classes for credits in spaces led by folks that look like them about their identity. And the Office of Black Student Achievement was the place who did that because of the way the budget cuts went down and because of the way seniority works in our union. Most of the people who are cut happen to be Black women who could offer classes specifically for Black girls. So that means that a byproduct of these cuts is that we are literally not going to have student-facing programs because of this. So you're going to see an exchange. It's kind of a long one, about 4 minutes, between Director Emmerich and Director Norville, really talking about like what is our lane and what is our, so like what do we want to do? Do we really want to take away student-facing programming specific to Black female students? Do we want to take that away, or do we want to do something about it? And Director Norville is basically saying, nope, we're going to trust the district. And Director Emmerich saying, hey, constituents are letting me know that this is a concern for them, and I'm asking us as a board to discuss it. And I think it's an interesting interaction, and I think it's a place this board sees themselves at a lot right now. It's tricky because the board was elected by the people. They are to represent us to the district. And so I think this conversation between Director Emmerich and Director Norville is interesting. I don't remember a lot of school board candidates running on a campaign of trusting the district. So I do think that that is an interesting position of Director Norville to take, because most people run for school board because they think the district needs to be held accountable and because they need to make changes. So it's one of the first times I've heard a board member say, I am just going to blindly trust this district. I don't know. I think that when we hear students, especially the students we know we are out of relationship with in an active way, right? And we are not working in partnership with, do we just trust the district? Then there's that whole piece where we didn't really hear that much from Black families in our survey, so maybe we didn't hear from these families or these students. Something for us to consider. You can watch the clip for yourself.
Thank you, Chair Beachy. Thank you so much, senior officers, for your report. This is not a question for you. When we were at Finance Committee meeting 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the Office of Black Student Achievement. I spoke about how I had met with Student Representative Martin and a couple of his colleagues who work for or with the Office of Black Student Achievement. I had made some requests for some information, but that information was still coming to us. And so what we talked about at Finance Committee meeting was that we would come back at this meeting right now, where I would hopefully be able to share more information that I had received from the Office of the Superintendent on the subject. And I have, it did just come to me yesterday, and I asked Ryan to send it all out to all of you earlier today. But I have been concerned for the last several weeks about some specific cuts to the Office of Black Student Achievement, not the total amount. I understand that the Office of Black Student Achievement had been funded for the last couple of years at a higher level because of ESSER money. And now they're being brought back to the level of funding that they saw before those funds. And so I'm not saying, and I don't think that they're saying that they should be funded at the same level next year as they have been this year. However, there's specific programming, the Building Lives Acquiring Cultural Knowledge classes that they have been offering at 7 high school sites, 22 classes, reaching approximately 500 high school students. And the staffing for that program is reduced from 8 to 4, is my understanding, in our budget for next year. Now, this is student-facing classes for our Black high school students. And so that to me is a concern. But what I was able to get more information on, and thank you colleagues for listening to this. I hope that there'll be a conversation to be had. Um, is that when the Office of Black Student Achievement was initially formed, it was actually the Office of Black Male Student Achievement. Okay, and they had King's programming for our Black male students. And over the years and the success of this program, programming for Queens for female students was added into the programming, and staffing for that part of the programming was added in over time as well. Because of last in, first out, when the reductions to these 8 staff that teach classes occurred, they basically lost their female staff, the staff that teaches the Queen's classes. So in addition to the classes being reduced by about half with the staffing reductions, we're seeing a disproportionate impact on our young Black women and their access. Now, this department, like everyone, is trying to creatively use the funding they have, and there are Queens support groups available to try to preserve as much of the programming for all of the high school students as possible. However, there is a pretty big discrepancy in this type of programming. The classes, what have been the Kings and Queens classes, are daily. They're credit earning. There's a curricular component. The support groups meet every week or every other week. They're not credit earning. They may be a great fit for a student who only wants to participate at that level, but I'm really unsettled by the specificity of the impact on our young Black women. I have not yet had the opportunity, having just gotten some of the information I've needed, to meet with young Black women who are involved in the Queen's classes, but I would like to. But I think it's something that we need to look at when we're considering this budget. Are we comfortable cutting student-facing programming that specifically impacts our young Black women in high schools?